Do you know Bernard Lawrence Madoff, or do you know the most biggest Ponzi scheme in the history, aka Madoff investment scandal? In 1960, Bernard Lawrence Madoff founded Bernard L. Madoff LLC Investment Securities, and it became one of the most successful companies at that time. But wait, that's not what he's famous for. He is known as a mastermind behind the largest Ponzi scheme in the history, which led to several suicides from his son to some billionaires. He was sentenced to jail for 150 years with a fraud that worth about 65 billion US dollar. Can you imagine how much it is? How can Madoff come to this point? Why he can get away with this fraud for years? To understand how Madoff committed this fraud, we need to know his background and career track record. Madoff is a former stockbroker, investment advisor, and financier. Initially, he started his business by one-man brokerage firm which traded only penny stocks with the mission to democratize the securities markets in the US. Later on, he became one of the co-founders of the Nasdaq Stock Exchange. His reputation attracted people who wanted to make a lot of money, and they invested in his Ponzi scheme without questioning his business strategy. So it worked like Madoff found a few investors and promised to give them 10% in return constantly. That beat every investor's return in the market, making these initial investors thrilled. These investors start to tell their friends and families, who tell their friends who dare their friends to invest in stock market. But with the fact that there is no extra business transaction, there's no extra profit. The return in which he gave to these investors come from the money of the new investors. After 20 years, he ran out of new investors to defraud, then the pyramid started to collapse. The stock plunged sharply. As a result, many people ended up losing their money from his scam, in total of $65 billion. How did he commit the fraud? Well, Ponzi scheme was nothing new for American investors. In fact, it had happened countless times before in the past. How did he do that? There are three reasons. First, Madoff only targeted greedy investors who did not question his investment strategy. Second, Madoff had an amazing career track record. Last but not least, SEC's incompetence and negligence were to blame. SEC had been proposed evidence on the scam by an accountant named Marco Polo numerous times. The evidence also suggested that Madoff refused the Big Four's audit. It also failed to discover that Madoff securities had been audited by one auditor, Friedling, who also invested with Madoff. After the exposure of Madoff's scam, the chairman of SEC was replaced, and they announced a new policy to have an annual surprise audit in order to ensure that customer funds were being properly safeguarded. Also, new chairman had pledged that the SEC needed to implement a specific measure to credible whistleblowing allegation. Moreover, the SEC started www.investor.gov with a specific section dedicated to helping investors avoid Ponzi scheme. Are we safer from Ponzi scheme? Not really. As long as there exists trust and money, there will be people who abuse the other to steal the other. But what we can do is to start to educate ourselves with the rules, policies, and past scandal cases. If returns appear too good to be true, they probably are. If nobody can understand how the fund works so well, it probably doesn't. So before you invest your money into something, make sure that it is really exists.